This
to order.
conference will now be recorded.
7:32 p.m. on May 3rd, a Monday. Thanks everyone for joining us. This is our second planning meeting that we're having, so we'll go through the agenda in a minute. I'll go ahead and call the roll. Chris is here, Shalene is here, Shad is here, Darcy is here, Deanna is here, and Salima is here. I don't see Darnell, but hopefully he can join us. I know sometimes he's a little bit late getting on. Not sure if he had a conflict or not. So anyways, thanks you guys for joining. Dave set this up for an hour and a half go-to-meeting, so we'd have additional time if we need it. My hope is that we can keep it to about an hour. We can go over a little bit. So anyways, but we'll take as long as we need. I've been at this intensive week-long thing as part of a doctoral program that I'm in, and we've had very long days, so I wouldn't mind. And I'm on Eastern time too, so it's a little bit later for me. So before we get into the core of the meeting, Shalene, did you want to introduce Diane for us? Because we've got an opening on our committee with Irene's resignation, and so we'll have a new committee member to be nominated.
Sweet.
So I'll let Diane she's here tonight as a very active, engaged citizen. So I'll let her tell you a little bit about herself.
I'm totally unprepared for this. I've owned property here since 2012, and I've been living here permanently since 2016. And as some of you might know, I actually ran for city council in the last election. So I had a little pamphlet, a little synopsis about me. I am retired. I have 3 children, and I was in Houston. I'm originally from Missouri, grew up on the farm in Missouri, and I've been in Houston for 40 some odd years after I got out of the Navy. I was a corpsman in the Navy, and I worked in the oil and gas business for the most part, in having segued out of the health industry after my military service. And I've owned 2 companies and been a part owner in one. And I try to be very involved in my children's school. They're all grown now, but I've been a volunteer mediator in the course with the PTA and with the Girl Scout leader from my daughter's 2nd to 12th grade, and or co-leader. So I try to be very involved. And Chris here a while back before during campaign gave me a tour of the golf course and the area and all the, I don't know about all, but the recreation area and the tennis courts and wiffle ball courts and where the POA is and things like that. So it's a very important part of our community, especially given the ongoing and expected additional growth that's happening in the younger families that are coming in. So I'm excited about Lago Vista's future.
Great. Well, thank you so much. And we appreciate your interest in the committee. Look forward to getting you involved and working on some stuff that we're very excited about. Shalene, so correct me if I'm wrong, but you will submit the nomination to City Council and they'll vote on it. Will that happen before our regular meeting next week?
Yes. So what the plan is for me to nominate a replacement for Irene at the City Council meeting this Thursday. It's on the agenda and in the packet. So it just depends on how quickly we can get a new member sworn in. Though if it's someone who's on another committee, I don't know that they have to swear in a second time. But anyway, so hopefully, long answer to your very quick question: yes, we should have someone on board before the meeting next week.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. Okay. Good. All right. That's awesome. That will be. I just wanted to make a note here for next week's agenda. Okay. Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you so much. So anyways, our agenda items tonight are any additional ideas that we haven't already discussed. If someone had kind of any kind of additional thing. You're taking a shower, or you woke up and had a dream and had some kind of great idea. Next, we'll get into priorities, recommendations for Sunset Park, and I'll ask Chris to and Shalane to update us on the city council meeting and the direction from that. And just thinking about what are we thinking our priorities should be. And I'm thinking, and also for programming and other park spaces, which is the next item. And my thought is that I'm kind of in my head, kind of bundling things into priorities for this year and what do we think we can get done near term, and what do we want to focus on as a committee, and also support Chris in for 2021, rest of 2021, but then also kind of medium to longer term priorities that would actually feed into our recommendations for the city master plan. Those are kind of our two big buckets right now. So I've been thinking along those lines and kind of organize the agenda that way. So before we get into the limitation part of things, which would be budget and city council concerns, maybe let's get into the ideation phase first. So let me go back to item number 2 on the agenda. Any additional ideas? Did anyone have any other thoughts about things that we haven't already discussed? Because I want to make sure we're casting the net as wide as possible and pretty inclusive in the things that we consider. And if we have none, that's fine too, because we have a lot of great ideas around parks and amenities, around programming, and of course for fundraising. So, okay, I'll take that as a no, which is fine. We have plenty of stuff. So I'll pass it on next to Chris and probably Shalane too, just to get an update from the latest meeting and kind of directionally what's the latest on Sunset Park.
Shalane, you want to go? You want me to start? Okay. Yeah, I presented at the council meeting on the workshop, and basically presented the same presentation that I gave you guys before that we saw. Just what priorities were, what some of the changes would be, like not doing the 2 baseball fields and then adding some other things that might round out the offerings for everybody. I did in that one put what I thought priorities were, and that was what a lot of the discussion was. And I still stand by probably the number one thing that we should do is be able to safely get into the park. I think once we can safely get into the park and we can get some sort of restroom facility, then we can kind of go down from a priority use after that. And didn't get a lot of direction from council on what they'd like to see. The proposal I presented, we were going to spend $1.36 million in the general fund. I got it down to about $1,020,000. And then later on, I discussed using the park fund, which we could use at $610,000, which would then I would basically be using about $450,000 of the general fund money. I think it came up that we'd like to concentrate on the priorities of access to the park and restrooms. Didn't get a lot of feedback on whether that was a good thing or not. It was just right now with finances, we'd like to concentrate on access to the park. And Eric Valet has given me about a figure of about $200,000 to get a different access to the park that we'd safely get into the park. And then we feel like we can get a restroom and septic for around $280,000. And what that would be, best guess case would be two women's stalls and 2 men's stalls. And taking out the storage component on the back of the restroom to be able to, and I think someone from this committee mentioned that, can we use some of the space for restrooms instead of storage? And then do a separate storage. I can do a 16 by 36 storage, affordable portable storage for about $15,000. So if I'm not mistaken, I think that's sort of where we left it off. I was not able to nail down the Texas Park and Wildlife, whether they could say for sure if we were going to get the points, but they felt very, very confident about it. They actually thought that we would get more points because one of the things that this committee's done is we're out seeking public support, and we're getting feedback from the public, which we didn't get last time. So they felt very comfortable that we would stay within those parameters. So that's about where we're at. We're waiting on some other kind of feedback on what we'd like to do next. I think the priority from that meeting came out that we need to spend time. Our first priority needs to be getting Loman Ford as a priority. So again, I've met with 4 different groups. I'm actually speaking at the chamber meeting on Monday the 19th, and hope to have a little more direction on what we're going to do at the second phase. But again, this is just going out and saying these are the things we're doing and gathering support for the park. So and Shalane, that's from my side, that's kind of what I saw. You got something to add on that, or?
I think you did a good job, Chris. Thank you. Yeah, really what came out of that, exactly like Chris said, is that the council asked, for now anyway, that the focus this year be on, one, trying to ensure that we can meet the grant requirements so that the city still qualifies for the $500,000 that we had initially qualified for with the changes that have been recommended. And then as Chris said, priorities would be the restrooms and safe access to the park, which involves likely moving that entrance to a different location and then putting in a street from that location to get down to where the park actually is. The only other thing that I really remember was a couple of council members asking to look into other possibilities for the restrooms, including what Jonestown did for their facilities, which was significantly less expensive and provided them with more restroom stalls. So there was a interest in some further investigation before we go with the 2-and-2 option.
Right.
And then to reiterate what Chris said, biggest reason for this is because there's a lot of money that had to be spent as a result of the winter storm. A big thing that we didn't expect having to spend for was to completely repave Loman Ford rather than doing the microsurfacing, which was planned before. And that's going to require some significant resources. And we just want to make sure that the city is best positioned financially to be able to take care of the immediate infrastructure needs that we have before we engage in spending on some of the other projects that we have going on. So it's just a temporary pause until we have a little bit more information. So, thank you.
Okay, so can I ask just from a budget standpoint, so I have my numbers right? So Chris, you said you were at 1.36 million, which was the amount budgeted initially, right, in the city budget, and
Yes,
you've got it down to 1.020 million. You're
Yes,
saying
ma'am.
a park fund is 610,000, and then
Yes, ma'am.
410,000 would come from the general fund. That obviously adds up to more than the new access estimate, the restroom and septic estimate, and your storage shed. So what else? Am I adding that up right? Is there additional funds we may still have this year for some of the other amenities we were talking about?
Yeah, we should have additional funds, but we're just at the point we need to nail down the numbers about what it's going to take, not only for Loman Ford, but council directed them that we had quite a bit of money in the street repair, and we wanted to make sure that we took care of that first. So I'm anticipating being able to do that. And like Shalane said, I think this is just sort of a let's stop and check. Let's make sure we meet the grants, which I think we will, and then we can move forward with what those priorities are. So my priorities past that would be to get. And I think Deanna Roberts came up with this too. Sometimes we might need to spend some money to fix some things that we might not have done wrong in the first phase. And if you've been out there, you'll see. I need to get a fence to keep the balls on the soccer field from going down all the way down the parking lot, and I need to get a netting behind there. But the next priorities would be to get a storage building, and then we can go down the list of wish list things like a playground and the skate spot and the bank shot and the community garden, those types of things. So it's just a pause right now. We're not pausing the planning and the figuring out part. We're just trying to make sure that we can do the things that the council wanted to do, which is to take care of the roads, and especially Loman Ford. So I'm optimistic about it. I still think we have a great opportunity to do some really, really good things out at that park. I keep getting people tell me, hey, they want to meet with me about a BMX thing now, and someone wants us to do this. There's a lot of excitement about opening up the possibilities. We'll continue to gather those options and those opinions, and just a little bit of a pause. We'll get on straight, and then we'll get going. I guess the good part of it is the Parks and Rec Advisory Commission can now have a little more say in, hey, I've heard that we might want to do this, or the public would like us to do such and such. So it's not going to stop this committee from advising and saying these are the things we want to see at the park. So it's actually a pretty good deal right now.
Okay. Any questions? Anyone else? Questions, comments, thoughts? Oh, go ahead, Darcy.
Hi, I missed the meeting, but I watched it on YouTube, and I think this is something that we as citizens of Lago Vista should just kind of be interested in. It's not actually anything to do with the parks or the faults of the parks or misspending of money or anything that we thought a lot of this was. I think the city had just kind of overextended themselves and not left enough in the purse to cover, like Shalane was saying, the emergencies and stuff. And I think Chris has been handling himself really great at these last meetings. I think he's finally getting to be the person who speaks up, since he's the person that's supposed to be in charge of our parks. And I appreciate that. And I think I have been trying to push anybody that I see on Facebook to Chris. I got them to go talk to him about the bike thing, because they're going to build their own BMX thing right now. And I said, well, hey, go talk to Chris, first, because the city's thinking of that too. And they go, well, this will be private. And I said, well, go talk to him anyway. I think anyone that we can push towards Chris, if he's willing to file it all and keep it all in his head, I think that's a good thing for all of us to start doing it. And instead of people being so upset about the spend at Sunset Park and what do we got for nothing or so much and blah, 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 we should try to turn this around as citizens and make it more of a positive thing and say, hey, look, we've got a new city park. We've got, a place now where we might be enjoying 4th of July's more, or we might be doing this or that. That's not all public works land. POA land. So I personally think it's headed finally in a good direction. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Darcy. Appreciate that.
I don't disagree with you at all, Darcy. I would just like to see some adjustment of some impact fees and some other things with some developments that are going on, with things coming into the city with these developers, because that directly impacts the city. It directly impacts the resources, and it directly impacts everything that we're able to do. And so if we were able to get more money back to the city for development, maybe we would have more money for roads and things like that.
Yeah,
I have a question. Does that mean, could we still do like fundraising for some of the projects that we want to do?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I think if we could get like a fundraiser in this year and kind of start talking about the projects, I think we could start getting a lot of momentum just through small businesses and through fundraisers, and get at least a few things started. Just an idea.
Yeah. No, I think that's absolutely the plan. And you guys have had a lot of good ideas around sponsorships, right? Like large donor or business sponsorships, in addition to getting the community involved, small donations and recognition, right? Plaques on certain items, or items are named after whoever the sponsor is. So we're definitely, absolutely part of our plan. I guess, Chris, I do have Shad's thought right on, can we do more? Is there more the city can do, or is the city considering, this is for Shalane too, maybe on requiring more from these developers? I know you mentioned that they have to pitch in fees or promise to put aside land or something like that. Is there a way we can get our mitts on some of that money for more specific purposes like the parks? Or part of that money, I should say?
Well, in the past, I've seen that where large groups, a large development will donate a piece of land, that we can put a park on. I think it's kind of the future in that, we don't have a lot of parks. We need to get more of an inventory, whether they're just neighborhood parks or regional parks too. So you got a decent sized park, you can, in a neighborhood, you can put a playground on it, and you're adding things. So you go for every avenue that you can. So I don't know about the development fees. That's a little bit out of my bailiwick there, but I've seen people use development fees before for parks. Yeah.
Yeah, and Shalane, that might be a question for you. Obviously a large portion of the fees needs to come in to help fund improvements, right? Do we need to improve or expand the roads that we have, or other infrastructure, if you will, that supports the growth? But I would think that, as Chris said, parks are such an integral part of a good community. Could we somehow get a portion of those fees, or designate a portion or percentage or something toward parks? I don't know.
I don't actually know the answer to that question. I think that's probably a good question to ask folks at the city. I'm not sure how. I don't know if council has complete oversight with how that money is spent, or what it's used for, or if there are any sort of requirements, state or federal requirements with how certain monies are spent. But I think that's a great question to write down. I don't know if we're like putting together some sort of a document with like questions or comments or anything like that we want to share with the council. I think that's a great question to pose. And I'm not even sure, Chris, would it be council that would answer that, you think, or would that be a question more specifically for someone else? Like,
I would think Roy with maybe development services might be the good person to start. He's very knowledgeable on that, and if not, he can direct me, or see where I can go to get more information on that. So.
Okay. Do you want me to take that to Roy, or do you want to?
I have no problem getting. Yeah, I talk with Roy every day. So.
Okay. Great. We'll see if we can get more info.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, I can see that being part of our recommendations potentially in what we're doing. Okay, well, while we're on kind of Sunset Park specifically, any other thoughts, comments? Yeah, go ahead.
Who,
Diane.
Diane or
Yes,
Deanna?
Diane.
Both got our hand up. I had a question about, with regard to the, and thank you for inviting me to speak. With regard to the fundraising that Salima referenced, and as did you, Karen, does the Parks and Recreation have a component of a 501(c)(3) such that those donations to specific items for the park might be tax deductible for whomever is donating?
We're in the process of setting up a Friends of Lago Vista Parks 501(c)(3). And we'll talk about that more specifically under item 5, which is kind of key focus areas for 21. I want to talk about fundraising there for sure.
Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead, Deanna.
Yeah, I just have 2 questions. So I had emailed you guys about this, specifically about Sunset Park, about handicap parking accessibility to the field. I think that's a problem right now. And then who is in charge of the upkeep of the parks? So there was a big Facebook thread. I don't know if y'all saw it. Someone was complaining this last week about the what the current, or not Sunset Park, the upper fields, what they look like. So I don't know, is it the city or is it the baseball league?
Well, I can address that. There's two fields. There's two fields that are considered the upper complex. The smaller one is by the pool, and that is taken care of solely by Lago Vista United Baseball. The lower field, it's a dual taking care of. We are supposed to take care of everything from the bleachers in, and the school district's supposed to take care of the property that are from the bleachers out, because that's school district property. So what we did was we mowed it, we drug it, we ordered new bases, we got it in better shape. Some of the pictures that were taken at the time were pictures of things that actually were school district property. I met with Darren Webb, superintendent, Thursday to discuss who's supposed to be taking care of what, so we're both very aware of who's supposed to be taking care of it. So hopefully we put $5,000 in those fields last year. What a little bit of the problem is that we get the fields ready, it gets wet, the middle school and those kids down there, I don't mind them playing on the field, but they'll get on the infield dirt. And when I went down there Thursday after we'd gotten the fields all ready and looking nice, they had 4 boys sitting at home plate just building mud pies. So got with, and kids are supposed to play, right? But it's just really hard for us to keep. And you know what happens with the field? If you're on the dirt when it gets wet, then it dries and you got big footprints and it's a mess. So I got with Superintendent White and Eric Holt over there and said, can you just, if it's wet, can you just keep them on the grass and not on the field? So I think they're trying that, but kids are going to play. The condition of the field's a little worn out because from home plate to the pitcher's mound, that's where they play kickball, and they are playing the heck out of kickball, which is kind of what your kids to do, but it's kind of hard to keep those up when they're in messing it up. So we are responsible for everything from the bleachers in. The school district is responsible for everything from the bleachers outside to the road and to the school. So we have a very clear understanding of what of what's supposed to be, who's supposed to take care of what. So that's about where we're at with that issue.
Who takes care of Sunset then?
Oh, we do it exclusively. Yes, we do. We have to lock the fields because, if you leave it up to the coaches if you think you can play, you can play. Well, the coaches will play on it as long as there's not puddles of water, but they'll tear up the field and it'll take days to get it back. So we take care of the fields and we dictate to them whether those fields are playable or not. It's hard to lock the upper fields when the school's there, because that's where the teachers and the coaches take their kids out for recess and PE. So it's just got to be a little bit of agreement with us. So.
Okay, anything else on that? Okay, all right, moving on from Sunset Park. I had an item around thinking through our priorities or priority recommendations for other park spaces and around programs. We've been speaking a lot about maybe some fairly quick wins. Can we identify city-owned lots and at least designate them that they'll be park space or future park space before they're used for something else? As Chris has said, kind of plant our flag on those or have the city agree, yes, these will be used for park space, and then maybe get some quick wins, right? So Bowden Point comes to mind, where we've got the swing set there, and which is awesome. KLVB has come in and really continued to improve that area. Can we potentially get some funding to build more there? The 2 lots between the Mark building and the POA building, could we do a fairly simple kind of urban park thing there? And then, Darcy's highlighted, and Chris, I think you have too, the 5 acres behind the police station. Can we plant our
Beautiful
flag
piece
on
of
that
land.
and say, don't use it for a green center or whatever other crazy idea someone had. Let's use it for park space because it seems like it would lend itself to some nice amenities that we've been talking about. So
Right.
anything else? I don't know, Chris, if there's any other way to identify other park properties. We talked about the map we have, which is fairly high level and probably outdated every week, right? With all the transactions going on, but
Yeah, there's a lot of small parks that link together, but as far as a big enough space to do something, there really isn't. And that's why I'd like that parkland dedication to be part of things. You know, have a developer give us a decent piece of property, and then we can expand our offerings. So, but yeah, those are the immediate pieces I've looked at. Bowden, those 2 lots behind the police building. There's not a lot of other big space. When the BMX group Darcy got me onto the BMX group, I'm going to be meeting them out at Sunset Park to pick a place, and then I'm looking. I don't know of another place that I'd have it. We're sort of limited on decent sized things, but it doesn't mean you can't have what we call a pocket park, just enough to put a restroom and a playground in there, and then you've got something. So we parkland acquisition, that might be something that we need to look at too. But I think for this group, we need to just say we're interested in expanding our operations around the city, and then just trying to find where that property is. I get people all the time, hey, let's do we need a dog park. We need a splash pad. We need a disc golf place. We need a BMX thing. It's great that the people want it. It's just a matter of how you guys prioritize and how you say these are the things we think the community wants. I'll take anything. Give me a spot. I'll set something up where we can play croquet. I mean, that's just anything anybody can do.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I think it past 21, like medium term, things could potentially open up, right? I feel like we're a bit hampered this year because of budgetary considerations,
Yeah.
which we'll work through. But if in my mind, are there a couple quick wins we could get, and potentially city would be able to provide budget if we want to convert something to a park, like those 2 lots, or let's do some additional stuff at Bowden Point. Just some quick wins we could this year. Not to say we don't want to continue to identify other space we could use for a bigger park or more amenities.
And if there are things that you're interested in, I can certainly go out and price tag some things. That's what I've kind of already done. A splash pad will cost us this. A dog park will cost us this. You know, an urban playground will do this. So I want, once I have the opportunity to say, I'd like to take it, and this is what it's going to cost. This is what it's going to cost us. So, and then fixing things up, we probably still need to fix up the playground up at the upper complex. That's our only playground in the inventory right now. I put in for a CIP request last year for $50,000. I don't think that it made it, but I will continue to put that in just to get resources. But there are some things that won't cost us a lot it all depends on what a lot is. That we can get some victories. I mean, our community. I think our census are we over 8 now? I think we're 8 or closer, and tax valuation is going to be going up. We need to raise our hands and say, I know we need to take care of some infrastructure, but we need to prepare for the growth too. And those would be park amenities.
Yeah, good point. Okay. Anything else as far as programming? I know we've talked about programs as well. Like the BMX group is a great example. The community gardens, to me, it's part amenity, part programming, right? Because it's
right.
The new experience that we're offering for people to be engaged with.
I'm speaking at the garden club this week, and so I don't know if we've talked to them. I don't know how they're different than KLVB. I really don't know. I just know they asked me to speak, and so I was thinking maybe we could even ask them, or the women's club, because they have a gardening group too, and it might be something that they help us sponsor. And then we really don't have to use city money, because I know that like the women's club has grants and stuff that they give away. And so maybe if we plug into these groups that are already established, and these women already have tons of experience, they might be interested in teaching classes out there, or who knows? I don't know what they might want to do out there. But I mean, just plugging into these groups that are already passionate about this stuff, they already probably have resources to help make this happen, or, you know, maybe some extra money that they would like to put into it, and then have it sponsored by the Lago Vista Garden Club or the Lago Vista Women's Club. But I definitely think that that's one that we could pretty instantly get some traction with. And there was some talk of it on the community board this week, and I said I'll bring it up again at the meeting. But I know that that's something that, like I said, has been talked about, and I don't know what the garden club could, but I could put a little seed in there talking about it, see what sprouts. I don't know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That would be awesome. And if there's interest there, yeah, let's definitely follow up. I can I'll make a note to myself to speak with Anna, who's current president of the Women's Club. I know she rolls off in sometime this month. Okay, I'll talk about that. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that could be a fairly quick when we get up and rolling, right? Shouldn't cost too much.
I think if we maybe kind of did some research on what it would cost, so we even know, but conceivably, if you're designing garden plots, right, and you have however many, and they're like 6 by 4, I can tell you when I built them out of wood, they're about $100, $150 a piece. Of course, now wood's more expensive because of the building, so we would have to find something else. But you could do it out of cinder blocks. There's some really cool sustainable ways that you could do this project to make it really, really, really affordable. And then also it'd be something cool that the community gets involved in. Somebody asked me to do like composting at the farmer's market. Like, will you take our compost? And I was kind of like, no, because then I'd have to transport it in my car and do all the stuff. But what if we had something like that there, and then it brings people to the park, and while they're dropping off their compost, they go for a hike, or they go do this. So it might be a way to get people to the park that would normally not use it because they don't think it's for them, and then they could see that it's for everyone. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll ask them.
Okay. Yeah, great ideas. Have you seen ones or heard of ones you think are good models for what you have in mind? You can work
The
a lot.
one up in Cedar Park by Veterans Memorial Park is a pretty nice setup. It's pretty easy. It has really good pathways. And so, you know, you just always want to account that people will trip and do dumb stuff. So I like how it's very spaced out so that people can move around and stuff. There's another really great one in Austin that's kind of been like ever since I was a kid there. That's amazing. And that's the Sunshine Community Garden. And it kind of started off as a community project, and it's just blown up. Now they have plant sales, and it's become its own like money-making entity, which I don't think it was ever intended for that, but they teach classes and all kinds of stuff. So, you know, again, I can look around, do some research, get back to you guys or whatever, but I definitely think that there's ways to do it sustainably and affordably when you're just building, you know what I mean, garden boxes and maybe a fence around it.
Yeah.
And again, we could talk to like Lago Fence, and maybe Lindsay Ann will donate because it's a community garden and she knows that everybody in town's going to see it. She's trying to build her business. I mean, we could just kind of take each piece of it and ask a business in the community if they want to sponsor it. I know me from the farmer's market, I would love to sponsor it. So maybe, you know, some other businesses would hop on.
Yeah, there's another nice one in Balcones in the Austin area. I drive by there when I coach my 9 and 10-year-old baseball team out there, and it's really nice. And you're right, it's not a lot of money. You know, that's why I'm projecting it would be about $25,000. You got to get water to it, and you've got to do certain things. And what I'd like to do if we do it at Sunset Park, I'd like to do it right too, so people understand. You'll be seeing how Lago's doing theirs, and you know that type of thing. So, but that was, you know, that was a little add-on from the last phase that I thought would do exactly what you said, Salima, is get someone else out to the park and, you know, try to make it for everybody. So, but that's certainly a good idea.
Okay, good. Well, that sounds like something we can definitely jump on for this year too. When I talk about, let's get some additional quick wins, you know, in addition to enhancements and what we know we need to do for Sunset Park, that would be awesome. And it just sounds like a really fun thing, a fun community thing. And who knows?
I think it
Chris,
would help
Selena
people
maybe
get
need
to
get
know
some
each
money.
other, because I keep meeting all these new people and they get this terrible impression of Lago from the community board, right? And so I'm always like, just come to the farmer's market. We're super chill. We're really sweet. Not everybody's like that. But more things like that get them sharing experiences or even sharing recipes. Like, this is what my grandmother did with tomatoes and she's Irish. Well, this is what my grandmother did and she's from Spain. That kind of collective consciousness and shared experience, I think, would be really enriching. And it would be, like I said, a really, gardening kind of hits all demographics and all ages. And it's like the hip thing to do for young kids. And, you know, so I was just thinking, I can ask around. Like I said, I think it would be cool to just kind of know how much it would cost and who would be interested in helping.
Mhm. Well, and to your point, if we can get a couple groups willing to donate, you know, and get it going quickly, like timing wise, we'd want to get it going sooner rather than later, right? I don't know what kind of things you plant in summer. I guess there's stuff you can
Well,
plant.
you don't plant anything in the summer, but what we could do is plant it out in the summer, get it built in the fall, and then have it grand open next spring. I mean,
Okay.
conceivably, that's the dream, because you could have a grand opening with plant classes in the spring and a plant cell. And again, we can ask companies like Ace and other companies like that that have plants and sell dirt to sponsor and give us all that stuff. They wouldn't have to give us money, but they could donate. And then they would have, you know what I mean, instant plugged for plants or dirt or whatever it is. But like, there's a bunch of different Austin or Central Texas based plant people that I can reach out to, like Central Texas Gardener that's on KLRU, and just start telling them, hey, we're looking at this cool project and we're looking to see who's interested in helping and sponsors. And you never know, we could even have like Skip Richter, which I know it doesn't mean anything to you guys, but to me in the plant world, he's like a freaking rock star, and I get all crazy every time he's at a community garden or something, and get him to, like, you know, come out here and for opening day, and you all instantly, I mean, it could be really cool. But again, I think maybe just start talking about it with people and getting some numbers together and seeing who's interested in donating their time or products for it.
Great. That's awesome.
Sorry, I nerd out about plants. I'll be quiet now.
Yeah. That's okay. My sister-in-law took some gardening certification thing, and so she's all over gardening now. So get to hear more than I want sometimes about plants and so forth. I have learned how to pick them properly though, which is good. Okay, well, good. No, that sounds like a really fun project. So, all right. Anything else, you guys? Like, if we're thinking 2021 tactical stuff, priority stuff, quick wins. I want to make sure we're covering all the areas. Okay, if you think of anything, just ping me or ping Chris. What I'll do, I had promised to kind of bullet out a set of notes which had all our stuff captured from our planning meeting and our last regular meeting, and I just ran out of time before I had to travel. So I think based on this discussion though, it's kind of good in a way, because now we have some better direction from City Council and some initial priorities that Chris has communicated and Shalane has communicated to us tonight. So let me finish those up. I'd started typing those up. Let me finish those up and get them organized. And again, I'm going to kind of probably have overall what we're seeing as vision and what we think we need to do. And we discuss that in our planning meeting, and then get into kind of one bucket of tactically 2021, maybe going into 22 stuff we think are absolute priorities, Sunset Park related items, and then these other things we've been talking about, and then want to be more kind of medium to longer term, right, to contribute into the city plan or master plan as the city gets working on that. And then what I can do is kind of I'll probably focus on the Vision 2021 first and get that out to you guys for your review and feedback. And then if we need to, I don't want to keep putting extra meetings on people's schedules if we don't have to, but if we need to, we can hit that again in a regular meeting or a special meeting, or just communicate by email. I'm trying to think timing wise, because our regular meeting is next week. Then we'll have our June meeting, and I think June is kind of when we need to get this wrapped up, right, Shalane? Because we want to have it into City Council and they're presented in July or something like that. So potentially we have our regular meeting in June where we could finalize what we want to present to City Council and vote on it, do whatever we need to do as an action item. Is that correct? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Sorry, sometimes it takes me longer to find the unmute button than I like, but yes, I think it's January and July, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, that would be great.
Okay. Okay. All right, well, let's do that, because there's no way in hell I'm going to have this done by a regular meeting, so I won't make that promise. But certainly prior to June, we can circulate feedback, comment, add, enhance, whatever, and come up with the work product and recommendations that we all agree with and think are pretty compelling and get excited about. And then I guess the other topic is on fundraising on the 501c3 that Diane had asked about earlier. Is Irene had said she would take on submitting our application to the Secretary of State for the 501c3 Friends of Lago Vista Parks. She determined that we need to have our bylaws already written prior to submission. So Darcy checked with someone she knew whose friend is an attorney who works with not-for-profits who could potentially help us make sure we put together a good set of bylaws through submitting. And also I've got questions for her on just governance. We want to set this up with good governance because obviously it has to do with fundraising. So particularly want to make sure we have good controls. So Darcy, I don't know if you want to, I know you've been on vacation, I was away. So.
Well, yes. So I talked to Rob Durbin. He was someone who ran for our city council last year. He's our old judge. And I talked with him, and he told me about that website. I think it was called Scope or something. I can't even remember right now. But he told me about that website, that they're all mentors, and that his sister had worked with them. Now, I didn't find her name in the list of mentors, so I was a little perplexed. And he said, just go onto the website and tell them that we are looking for a mentor because we'd like to open a 501(c)(3), and that they donate their time and they help you navigate what you need to do. And he said they're a great source. He was hoping it would be his sister. He gave me his sister's name, which is Beth Durbin. And he said to, try to get her because she's in the Austin area. She could come out to talk to us or come on to one of these meetings or, our 501(c) meeting. And I've never done this. So it's like I kind of just volunteered when we didn't have enough people. And I can figure things out, but I'm not one to get you legal. I know people and because people are friends with me, I can ask them simple questions. But to go anything with legal matters and stuff like that, I would say let's try to get this really nailed down before we try anything. And then somebody had said that necessarily to take like things for contributions or something like that, necessarily you don't have to be a 501(c). You just have to, I guess, give some type of tax identity or something, so in case, and keep it legal. That's what kind of Rob had told me, that you really want to have all your paperwork in order and know kind of what you're doing and what you're up to and what the whole reasoning is behind this. So that's about it. Thanks.
Yeah, okay. So Irene had started working on a set of bylaws. Honestly, I haven't even opened them yet to look at them. That's an area we need to work on first because we need to submit those with our application. And then the other thing is governance, right? I think, you guys have raised your hands as far as your interest in being part of the initial set of members, and then we can designate kind of members of the board and do selection or election of specific office positions. I mean, it's kind of like our committee. I think you typically would have like, you know, president, vice president, treasurer, secretary, you know, kind of those core 4 positions you typically see. We could add other positions if we think we need additional ones. I don't know if anyone here has a passion for writing bylaws. I know I don't. But that's something that, you know, we're gonna, Chad is raising his hand. Yes. Anyways, Irene, I haven't even looked at how much Irene had gotten done. So it could be, you know, I'm always like, keep it simple to begin with. You can always add stuff later. But as Darcy said, we want to make sure we are covering all the bases we should be covering as a not-for-profit. So I guess, Darcy, you and I are the subcommittee that's working on this right now. And if anyone else would like to join us, feel free. You can raise your hand now, or you can ping me later. But we'll keep this moving. This is something that we've talked about for probably the past 2 years to do, and just never got it going. So I think now, if we can get it going this year, we have the vehicle in place. And as Salim has indicated, we can have some early potential donors and sponsors giving us money here, you know, fairly quickly if we get our act together. So.
And I think Salima also said that she had wanted to be in there, right, Salima, when we first were talking about this? Yeah, because she's on the emails. I was like, yeah. She's in. So now everyone else, come on.
Yeah, okay, you're right, Salima. You're part of the subcommittee too. That's right. Drafted. You were drafted earlier. Yeah, you volunteered actually, so I appreciate that. Okay, well, we'll keep that moving, and I don't know, Darcy, maybe we can communicate early next week. Are you back from your vacation?
I don't come back until Tuesday of next week, but I could theoretically probably maybe email you before then, and then I'll go look at that website and see what it's like, and see how to navigate it, and maybe I would say let's get a meeting in, and whoever's going to do this with us, so we can kind of make a structure. I don't want to just put out a thing like, hey, blah blah blah. I think we need an email space, you know, a simple email, you know, logo whatever the name of it is, at Gmail or whatever, just so if we do put into this place, it goes back to a Gmail account that's for it, and we can keep everything contained at one space instead of it to someone's personal email. I have a big problem with sending things to personal emails.
We need a website. We need all that stuff. So
yeah.
So
but as far as the bylaws, we don't really have to reinvent the wheel, right? Can we just like find somebody else's bylaws and do something similar?
We've talked about that. I can look at like the POA bylaws and look at articles that might be applicable to what we're trying to do, or even we can just take and adapt.
I sent Irene a copy of the Friends of the Library bylaws. So that's sort of similar to what we're trying to do here. So I don't know.
Can you send those to us? Can you send them to Salima, Darcy, and me, Chris?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'll write it down right here.
And then there's also Friends of Balcones too, that we might be able to look at, because that's like more of a park space. If there's anything that's more applicable to that, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I just know I follow them on Facebook, so.
Oh, okay. All right. Good. That'll be very helpful. Okay, well, let's touch base. Darcy, Salima, and me, let's touch base early next week. And what I'll do is take the time to look and just confirm the requirements for the submission, and look at what Irene's done to date on the bylaws. And I'll definitely look at the library bylaws, Chris. Okay, so that's all I had for tonight. Just as a reminder, for our regular meeting next week, we're going to open the meeting and then go immediately into executive session at 7 p.m. And Aaron Silvera, our city attorney, is going to take us through a tutorial on Robinson's Rules of Order, or Rosenberg's Rules of Orders. I always want to call it Robinson's, I don't know why. And also some other kind of city policies or ordinances that are applicable to either our committee or to any committee and to being a committee member, and certain standards that the city has around that, which would be good for all of us to hear. And then when we come back into our regular meeting, hopefully we'll be welcoming Diane as a new member. We'll also need to nominate and vote to select a vice chair to replace Irene. And then from there, it's kind of more of the same in terms of the agenda items I had was around, of course, approving the minutes. Chris will share his monthly update with us, kind of summarize our planning status, including update on the fundraising piece, and then just consider next steps for both planning and for fundraising. So you guys think of any other items you think should be on the agenda, either as action items or discussion, feel free to send them over my way. Happy to include them. So that's all I have. Anything else from you guys? No? Okay. All right. Well, thanks you all for taking the time for this extra meeting. Really appreciate it.
Hi,
And
guys.
Darcy, have fun on your vacation. Have fun in San Diego.
Bye. Safe
All right.
travels.
Everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a good
We're adjourning
evening.
our meeting now. Thank you.
Thank you.